Hey everyone, welcome back to MangaMinute. I'm thrilled to share my latest recap video with you. If you missed the previous one, no worries, just take a quick peek in the description below for the link. Now, let's dive right in and enjoy.
Travis, refusing to accept defeat, spat a small seed into the ground. Almost instantly, the seed sprouted into a vibrant healing lily, its petals glowing with an ethereal light. The plant's magic worked swiftly, knitting together the flesh of his severed hand until it was fully restored, as if the injury had never occurred. With his hand now healed, Travis rose with renewed confidence. His mocking tone rang out as he addressed Ching, taunting the blue sword. To him, despite the sword's St. Gild's strength, Ching's techniques lacked complexity, a flaw he intended to exploit. Travis approached with a smug arrogance, his belief in the sacred power of the elves bolstering his confidence as he began to boast of his guild's superiority, speaking of the blessings of the sacred tree that made elves unrivaled in strength. But before he could finish, his arrogance blinded him to the danger lurking nearby. In a sudden and brutal ambush, Jala, who had managed to free himself from the entangling vines, rushed forward with ferocious speed. Without warning, Jala's massive fist struck Travis, catching him off guard. The impact was immediate and devastating, knocking Travis to the ground in an instant. His words were silenced, his body sprawled in the dirt, as Jala's raw power cut short the elf's boastful tirade. In a berserk fury, Jala stood over the fallen Travis, his voice dripping with scorn as he mocked the defeated elf. His hulking frame radiated raw power, his savage grin widening as he reveled in his victory. To him, Travis had been nothing more than an annoying show-off, and Jala had made sure to silence him in the most brutal way possible. His attention then shifted toward Ching, the blue sword, his eyes burning with violent intent. Jala's bloodlust had only grown, and now Ching was the next target. Ching, sensing the shift in Jala's aura, studied him with calm focus. There was something off, something dangerous about the wild energy Jala was giving off. It was more than just brute strength. It was as if the berserk state had awakened a deeper, more primal force within him. Ching knew that this would be no ordinary confrontation. Jala's sheer rage made him unpredictable, and his attack could come at any moment. From the sidelines, the spectators roared in excitement, their bloodlust matching Jala's. The arena was filled with shouts, urging Jala to strike and finish the battle. The crowd was wild with anticipation, their cheers growing louder with every passing second. They wanted more. They wanted to see Ching, the elegant swordsman, fall beneath Jala's monstrous strength. Gob, the master of ceremonies, fueled the crowd's energy with his booming voice, hyping up the scene. Jala's sudden revenge had fired up the entire arena, and the excitement was at its peak. The audience's focus was now solely on Ching. His skill and grace had made him a favorite, but the question on everyone's mind was clear. Could the injured blue sword withstand the oncoming storm that was Jala's berserk assault? The battle had reached its boiling point, and all eyes were on the two competitors. Ching's sword had been thrown aside in the chaos of the earlier explosion, but with a subtle lift of his hand and an unseen force, he called it back to him. The blade flew through the air and returned to his grip as if answering its master's silent command. With his sharp, focused eyes, Ching studied Jala, piecing together the truth of his opponent's earlier escape. It wasn't brute strength alone that had allowed Jala to break free from the roots. It was his sweat, acting as a lubricant, enabling him to slip out of the vine's grip. Fortunately, Ching had reacted in time with his sword to mitigate the damage, and while Jala's power was immense, the impact had been minimal. Jala, however, cared nothing for strategy or analysis. He was consumed by raw power and rage. With a furious roar, he bellowed his intent to crush Ching, his voice echoing across the shattered arena. Leaping into the air with incredible force, Jala unleashed the full might of his muscles, using 70% of his strength in a single devastating blow. As he descended, his fist smashed into the ground with explosive force, shattering the arena floor into pieces, sending debris flying in all directions. But Ching was faster. As soon as Jala launched his attack, Ching reacted. With a swift leap into the air, he narrowly avoided the impact, his movements fluid and graceful. In midair, he executed his flashing cold slash, a precise and deadly technique aimed directly at Jala. His sword glowed with chilling energy as it slashed toward his berserking opponent, the attack striking true. Yet, as Ching landed and observed the aftermath, he realized something unsettling. Though his strike had hit its target, the damage was far less than he had expected. Jala stood amidst the broken ground, seemingly unfazed by the attack. His immense physique had absorbed the blow, and the rage in his eyes had only intensified. Unscathed by the previous attack, Jala sneered at Ching, taunting him with arrogance. The blow Ching had landed was nothing more than a scratch to the giant warrior. His immense durability and raw power left him unfazed, and his mocking tone only deepened the tension in the arena. Meanwhile, Ching, the blue sword, was left in disbelief. His eyes widened as he realized something disturbing. His sword had been damaged. The blade that had always been his trusted companion now showed signs of wear under the strain of Jala's relentless assault. There was no time for reflection. Jala, sensing Ching's momentary hesitation, launched another attack, this time pouring even more strength into his strike. With 80% of his muscle power behind the blow, Jala charged forward, his movements like an unstoppable force of nature. Ching had no choice but to stand his ground. Instead of leaping away as before, he held his sword in front of him, using it as a shield to block the incoming attack. The impact was brutal. Ching was forced several steps back, his body struggling to withstand the sheer power behind Jala's assault. His sword, once a symbol of elegance and precision, bent under the pressure, warping beyond recognition. It was clear that the blade could no longer endure the ferocity of the battle. Yet Jala was far from done. With a gleam of savage delight in his eyes, he prepared another attack, this time increasing his strength to 90% of his muscle power. Each movement sent shockwaves through the arena, and the spectators watched in awe as Jala unleashed his monstrous might. Ching, however, refused to surrender. Despite the damage to his sword and the overwhelming strength of his opponent, he kept his composure. With a quick, calculated leap, he jumped backward, narrowly avoiding Jala's next crushing blow. The ground where Ching had stood moments before was shattered, testament to the raw power of Jala's attack. From the elevated VIP seats, Leping watched the battle unfold with growing excitement. The intensity of the competition gripped him as he leaned toward Elizabeth, his voice filled with eager curiosity. His eyes followed each movement in the arena, captivated by the display of raw power and skill. Meanwhile, Elizabeth remained silent, her gaze focused on the combatants below, her expression unreadable. Not far from them, Anna Saugus, the purple sword, turned to her sister in disbelief. The sight of Ching's B-ranked weapon, a finely crafted sword forged by the legendary dwarves, being damaged so easily by Jala's bare fists left her stunned. That blade was supposed to be one of the finest, yet it had been bent and rendered useless with just a single punch. The implications of this power shift were unsettling. Luna Saugus, the orange sword, shared her sister's concerns. She watched the battle closely, a frown crossing her face. Their sword St. Guild had a reputation to uphold, and Ching's struggle against Jala was beginning to damage that reputation. Turning to her sister, Luna voiced her worry, suggesting that perhaps it was time to intervene before the guild's standing suffered any further. The stakes of this battle had grown beyond just individual pride. It now threatened the guild's honor. Anna, however, remained composed, her mind racing as she considered the situation. Something was off. Jala's strength was beyond what she had expected from the giant bear guild. His power was unnaturally fierce, far exceeding what even their strongest members should have been capable of. Could there be another force at play? The thought crossed her mind. Was this the influence of the Dark Guild? The possibility troubled her, but for now she decided against intervening. They would wait and watch for the moment.